Welcome to the Fall Faculty Assembly. My name is Cynthia Pascal and I am Chair of the Faculty Senate. We are honored today to have Larry Churchill, the Ann Geddes Stallman and Professor of Medical Ethics in the Center for Biomedical Ethics and Society. He's also appointed in the Departments of Philosophy and then in the Divinity School. Come speak to us today on being good and getting better, connections between moral virtues and healing. Professor Churchill was educated at Rhodes College, where he earned his undergraduate degree and was Phi Beta Kappa. And at Duke University, he graduated summa cum laude with an MDiv and then later with a PhD. And he joined the Vanderbilt faculty in 2002. Prior to coming to Vanderbilt, he was professor and chair of the Department of Social Medicine at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where he won an award for excellence in the teaching of medical students. Churchill has published widely in several areas of bioethics and medical ethics, including research with human subjects, end-of-life decision-making, and social justice and the ethics of U.S. health policy. He has lectured in the United Kingdom, Spain, the former German Democratic Republic, China, and other countries, and as well has lectured widely in North America. His works include 10 authored or edited books and over 100 refereed articles and book chapters. His work in ethics and health policy was the basis for his election to the Institute of Medicine, National Academy of Sciences in 1991. He serves on the board of directors of Alive Hospice of Nashville and chairs their ethics committee. And again, he will be speaking today on being good and getting better, connections between moral virtues and healing. Larry?
Well, it's very nice to be asked to speak with you. I'm delighted and honored at this opportunity, although it is a bit daunting to talk about your research in 10 minutes. I had thought I might talk about healthcare reform, but I couldn't figure out how to do that in 10 minutes, and I thought it has become such a depressing conversation over the last month that we should avoid it altogether. And so I'm going to talk about something I think a little more uplifting. But first I want to thank Jenny Shepard, who first invited me last spring, and now Cynthia Pascal for re-inviting me. This is truly a wonderful thing to have happen. I want to also acknowledge my collaborators in the research I'm going to be talking about. Roy Elam in the medical school, David Shank, a longtime collaborator, religious studies scholar, students, Elizabeth Clayton, Michael Putman, and especially senior medical student Eve Henry have all made important contributions to what I'm talking about. And funders, the Charles E. Culpeper Foundation several years ago first got me interested in this topic. And more recently, the Baptist Healing Trust, the Eben Alexander Fund, and my own Center for Biomedical Ethics and Society and its director, Ellen Wright Clayton, have been enormously supportive of this kind of unorthodox inquiry. The question I want to pose and try to engage you in is something like this. Does the ability of the health practitioner to embody personal virtues help patients to recover? Is it possible that being a good person plays a role in helping one's patients improve? Well, the Hippocratic physicians thought so. One of the maxims in their corpus reads like this: "The patient, though conscious that his condition is perilous, may recover his health simply through his contentment with the goodness of his physician." But of course that was 2,500 years ago, when science offered little. Physicians belonged to religious cults like Pythagoreanism, and long before the Cartesian bifurcation of mind and body that still marks our epistemologies. As a culture, we are now often skeptical and at worst cynical about these integrated and holistic approaches. A common assertion one hears is that we want technical competence. If we can get morals and manners, all the better. We'd love to have it, but it's something of a frill. We tend to accredit cure, understood as a biological fix, but are dubious about healing, a vague concept, but something about the experience of being restored to wholeness and meaning in one's life. Or at least this is the official doctrine, I think, the dominant motif in our culture. Yet our research has shown that many physicians, and no doubt many other healthcare professionals, I work in a medical center, so I study doctors, but I suspect this is true generally across the health professions, they believe and they behave otherwise. They tend to agree with their Hippocratic forebears. Their work primarily has convinced them that the forms of caring that they offer may be vitally important to patients getting better, even to curing them. And moreover, that healing may be possible even when cure is impossible. Now, just to be fair, we have to acknowledge there has been some recognition, though, of the power of interactional contributions to patient improvement for quite some time. For example, the gold standard for the efficacy of new drugs is how they perform against placebos. But recently, it isn't just practitioners, our clinical researchers. It is also my hard-headed neuroscience colleagues and immunologists who have been studying the role of relational skills in the process of patients' recovery and trying to measure this with a biological as well as a personal metric. Let me cite a few examples to stand in for hundreds of others. Immunologist Janice Kiko-Glasser and her colleagues at Ohio State have shown that mental states can both help and harm the immune system. Stress can lengthen the time needed to heal a wound, and social support can speed wound healing when it is present and lengthen it when it is absent. No news, I suspect, to those who have studied social capital. Neuroscientist Fabrizi Benedetti devised 2 ways for patients to receive analgesia post-operatively. One group got injections through computer-controlled infusion pumps without being told the purpose of the injections. A second group was given the injection by a clinician who described it to patients as pain relieving. Yes, that's right. The machine-injected patients needed more analgesia to get the same relief, and they also experienced relief much more slowly. There is a growing literature on placebos, on immune responses to clinical and social support, and the general place of mind-body interactions in medical therapies. And we now have the ability, through computerized tomography and functional magnetic resonance imaging, to visualize physiologic registers of emotional states. If the actions and demeanors of clinicians are important to people getting well, then we need to understand what these are. We need to understand them more precisely. How do they work? And while research that measures patients' physiological responses is, I think, clearly important, my own research has taken a more ethnographic turn. So with my colleagues, I have been focusing on identifying a basic taxonomy of what we have provisionally called healing skills. That is, actions and attitudes that expert clinicians use to create confidence and trust in their patients, and in thereby doing increase the likelihood of good outcomes. One of the projects we've engaged in was interviewing 50 clinicians from a very broad geographic area and across many specialties in medicine, including some complementary and alternative healers in both academic and community settings, people who were identified by their peers as being exceptionally good in this domain of patient care. And we asked them very simply, what do you say and do to try to create therapeutic alliances? Not, what are your theories? Because everybody has theories about healing. But what are the concrete things that you do? Do you make sure you do with each of your patients that you think really makes a difference? And we boiled this down to 8 relational skills. I don't know if there are 8 skills. There may be 12. There may be 20. There may be a different set for pediatricians and another one for neurosurgeons. But I am confident we are onto something important here. And let me give you some examples of this. All of our expert clinicians talked about the ability to listen with care, giving patients what was frequently called undistracted attention. What I'm now getting from all of you, and this is remarkable. To a moral philosopher, undistracted attention sounds an awful lot like concepts we work with. For example, Simone Weil believed that this was the elementary form of love between people. Or here's novelist Henry Miller describing what can sometimes result from such a focus. He said, "The moment one gives close attention to anything, even a blade of grass, it becomes mysterious, awesome, a magnificent world unto itself." Well, surely this is a capacity we would like to nurture in healthcare professionals. Another example, most of the clinicians we interviewed said that if you can find something to like about each of your patients, you're going to give them better care. It doesn't have to be a lot, and this may be hard to do. But if you can find something that's interesting or attractive or something that you can accredit them as a piece of enjoyment that you get from the relationship, this will help you. I can only confess that this is probably not an easy thing to do, but I think morally speaking it's very akin to accrediting another person's value and worth in spite of what can be unattractive appearances. None of us are at our best when we visit practitioners. Other capacities that were mentioned are essentially ethical virtues. Exercising empathy, being loyal, demonstrating humility. Well, this study was published last November in the Annals of Internal Medicine, a truncated version. We're working on a much longer and more exhaustive rendition of these interviews, and that's under contract with Oxford Press. I hope the point is clear. Good relational skills and ethics seem to draw from the same well, that is, from a common reservoir in the human sensibility. Another thing we learned is that relational skills can't be faked. They're not techniques. They're capacities that arise out of one's head and heart and things that have to be possessed as personal virtues in order to enact them as relational strategies for care. One of the things you might be saying now is, my goodness, you spent all this time doing this work and we already knew this anyway. And in fact, I think we did. On the other hand, knowing it and really knowing it and making it an explicit part of one's agenda are two different things. Once we get beyond a purely biomechanical model of health and disease, it should come as no surprise that virtue counts. In ways that clinicians have known, I think for millennia, we are increasingly able to measure. Character actually does influence competence. To me, this changes dramatically the way in which we need to think about professional ethics in healthcare. We are in the process of doing that now, I think, at Vanderbilt. The task is less about teaching ethical theory and rational decision processes, important as I think that is, actually, and more about encouraging our students to grow in their self-reflective and self-critical capacities, their depth of understanding of themselves and other people, and providing more opportunities for them to practice these virtue skills in their training. Our next project involves interviewing patients, the other side of the equation, to see what they say about these matters. We're submitting this to the IRB tomorrow, so wish us luck. Thank you.
While we wait for the AV system to get all ready, I want to welcome you to the Fall Faculty Assembly and tell you really what is the Fall Faculty Assembly aside from a nice gathering and an opportunity to hear from one of our learned peers and to distribute awards. But it is indeed something that is commanded by the Constitution of this university. The Faculty Assembly is this gathered body, and it is convened at least once per year to hear reports on the state of the university from the Chancellor, to permit members, that is all of you, to direct questions to the Chancellor or other officers of administration, or to the chair of the Faculty Senate, myself, to discuss any subject of common concern and to express its opinion thereon and to pass upon proposed amendments to the Constitution. Today we will also take the opportunity to honor our colleagues whose achievements and service merit recognition in this gathering. And we have a rather full agenda, so consequently we won't really have much time for formal question and answer. But please see Chancellor Zeppos and myself at the reception, or of course you can always send email. I want to encourage all of you to go visit the Faculty Senate website. The Faculty Senate is the representative and deliberative body of the faculties, and I'd like to encourage you to visit the website. If you scroll towards the bottom, you can see the list of faculty senators and find out who the senators are in your school. If you scroll a little further down on the page, there's a link to the standing committees page that includes the membership of the committees, the chairs of the committee, and the charges to the committees, which I'll be presenting today. But first I'd like to introduce to you the Senate leadership. Our past chair is Ginny Shepard, and Ginny, if you will please stand up. I know you're somewhere here. There she is. And the rest of you, if you will please stand up as I call your names. Jonathan Retzlaff is our past vice chair. I'm, of course, the current chair, and Jack Roberts is the vice chair. And then Brian Chrisman is the chair-elect, and Bobby Bodenheimer is the vice chair-elect. And at this point, I would actually like to ask all 48 senators to please stand up. Stand up, please. I ask the rest of you now to please look around, see who your senators are, get to know them, share your ideas and concerns with them, and expect to be hearing from them throughout the year through school-specific mechanisms as we seek to improve communication about Senate activities. And thank you very much, senators. So as promised, I wanted to tell you what the Senate will be working on. The work of the Senate is done through the work of our standing committees, alphabetically, the first of which is the Academic Policies and Services. This is chaired by Tony Weil. And their standing charge, of course, is to review new academic programs. They'll also be evaluating the Graduate Education Task Force report. They'll be developing a template for new academic programs. They'll work to clarify inconsistencies between the governing documents regarding the authority of the faculty to approve new degree programs. They will be following up on the status of the IDEAS, the internal funding program. They will also be evaluating mechanisms for the formation, evaluation, and continued operation of centers, programs, and departments. The Faculty Life Committee is chaired by Lillian Nanny, and they will be looking at formalizing recommendations for faculty development mechanisms at all career stages. They'll be studying the technology transfer issues. They'll be investigating options for salary payment and vacation policies for faculty on 9-month contracts. They will be considering issues related to open access to the scholarly works that we all produce. And the other charges include those related to child care, retirement health benefits, and the home purchase program. The Professional Ethics and Academic Freedom Committee is chaired by Frank Black, and of course their standing charge is to hear grievances. They will also be examining the policies and procedures for the communication of misconduct findings to committees considering faculty members for promotion, tenure, and other appointments. As you can imagine, this is a relatively sensitive issue and a very, very important one. If you have input on this, please do send it on to your senators. They will also be developing recommendations to expand the pool of faculty members eligible to serve on grievance committees. They will be recommending that the various units clarify expectations for external salary support, and they will be reviewing privacy policies here on campus regarding communications, electronic or otherwise. The Senate Affairs Committee is chaired by Ellen Armour, and the first charge will be to reapportion senators among the schools in accord with the Constitution. This must be done every 5 years, and this is the year that it will be done. They will be working to clarify the policy regarding the voting status and participation in Senate meetings for administrative officers. Our current faculty manual is a little out of date with our current administrative structures. So they will be addressing that. They are going to investigate the implications of and policies for allowing first and second year senators, rather than just first year senators, to run for elected Senate offices. They will be evaluating mechanisms for increasing interactions with our staff councils and the student government. And they will be reevaluating the current Senate committee structure and propose updates and changes as necessary. Finally, Student Life is chaired by Bridget Rogers, and their first charge will be to propose a structure to create a Vanderbilt University graduate experience that is on par with our excellent undergraduate experience. They will also work to identify a mechanism by which faculty can refer students with potential mental health issues to a local expert. They will be following up with the provost on the establishment of a standing committee on sexual assaults, and this comes out of the work of the Student Life Committee last year. They will be working to ensure that spring breaks are coordinated within the university beyond 2014. They are currently coordinated up to then. And they will also be examining the results from last year's Vanderbilt Interest Program, the upper class experience. So finally, I want to encourage, kind of somewhat consistent with Professor Churchill's remarks, I want to encourage you to be well and be productive. I want to make sure you're aware of the Faculty and Physician Wellness Program. They have a number of resources that can be helpful if the stresses and demands of our lives become overwhelming. And I encourage you to visit that website so that you're aware of it, and so for perhaps your own sake and for the sake of your peers. I want to encourage you to take advantage of the many programs and facilities available through Health Plus. And as you know, of course, our jobs are often very, very stressful, and this year's Go for the Gold video includes vignettes by some of our faculty members and is focused on stress and how to deal with stress. Finally, of course, I trust you've been aware of the threat of the H1N1 and, of course, all the various viruses. So wash your hands, be well, stay home if you're sick. And so now I turn on to more fun things. It is time now to recognize faculty members with 25 years of service and to present awards. And to do this, I call upon Chancellor Zeppos.
Thank you very much, Cynthia, and thank you for that wonderful presentation. And Larry, that was a very, very important and enlightening presentation, and I couldn't agree more that the path to addressing the wellness of the individual, the wellness of everybody's community, and indeed our healthcare challenges resides in a broader, more humanistic approach to understanding the rational as well as the irrational side of the wonderful human mind. Let me also thank all of you for coming and give you a very, very warm welcome to the members of the faculty and to so many members of our community who are joining us for this Fall Faculty Assembly. It is, in many ways, as Cynthia described, a place of business, but also importantly symbolic as we gather together as the faculty of this great university and honor our long-held traditions and confer awards on our colleagues. It also represents to me and so many a unification of this great university's faculty. The sheer range of disciplines, the scope of the investigations, the teaching that goes on is remarkably represented in this group. And I still find it interesting that the departments cluster together. I'm going to give seed grants away to have interdisciplinary seating at this assembly. The remarkable thing is we're going to give some awards today, but as I look out at this faculty, there are so many of you in law, medicine, education, philosophy, the full range of disciplines who garner awards every day, who earn recognition for their research and their teaching. And I have a tremendous amount of admiration for the talent and the creativity that is gathered in this room. I want to thank you for your dedication and devotion that you invest in Vanderbilt, in your students, in the patients that you care for deeply, and in your mission. You nurture and guide them every day. You invest your life in them. I also want to thank you, in this time more than ever, for the environment of collegiality that you have built and that you work on so attentively every day. So many who join us remark on that is why I came to Vanderbilt. And I want to thank you for nurturing that and continuing to see that as our strength. I also want to thank all of you for the sacrifices that you made this year to support this great university. Now let me get to the presentation of the awards. And I am particularly pleased this year to be giving away the Chancellors Awards for Research and the Earl Sutherland Prize, the Nobel Prize for Vanderbilt in Research, the Thomas Jefferson Award for Distinguished Research to the University. But let me start with the awards to faculty who have dedicated 25 years of their professional career to Vanderbilt. There are 37 of you this year, representing, I think, almost 1,000 years of dedication to this great university. There's no way we can thank you enough, but we do try to pay tribute to you and your valuable contributions by giving you a chair, a real chair to sit in. With the symbol of Vanderbilt University, it is standard, of course, to choose between a rocking chair and one that stands. Since we have so many that we are honoring here today, could I ask you to hold your applause until we get through this remarkable collection of individuals. Please join me on the stage as I call your name. Yes, we can all fit on the stage, and you have to remain here so that we can have a photograph of this historic celebration. From the College of Arts and Science, Louis V. Baldwin, Tracy Barrett, Carol Freeman Kenner, Elena Olasagasti Segovia, Matt Ramsey, Philip Rosico, Chuck Singleton, Mike Stone, Norman Toke, Barbara Sekurgis, Frank Weislow, Thomas Joseph Weiler, and Daojing Jia. Okay. From the Divinity School, Fernando P. Segovia. From the Engineering School, P.K. Basu and Janos Stepanovitz. From the Law School, D. Donald Welch, Jr. From the School of Medicine, Daniel H. Ashmead, Brenda J. Butka, Benjamin F. Bird III, John P. Greer, Reza Habibian, Robert M. Kessler, Owen Patrick McGinnis, John A. Phillips III, Stephen J. Schultenover, John S. Surgeon, and Kenneth W. Sharp. Got a lot of room up here. Got a lot of room. From the School of Nursing, Colleen Conway Welch and Patricia A. Pierman. Now it's unfortunate, but I guess maybe I should consider it fortunate that there are actually some people who couldn't join us today, or else we'd had to do this on the front of an aircraft carrier. They had conflicts with meetings, their classes, other obligations, but I would like to recognize their remarkable service to Vanderbilt. They are George S. Allen, Darrell L. Ellis, Richard F. Hagelin Jr., Mark Jarman, John A. Morris, Stephen T. Shantz, and Philip E. Williams. Please join me in extending my deep gratitude and warmest congratulations to all of these faculty members for their extraordinary service and years of dedicated commitment to Vanderbilt. Thank you very much. I'm glad you made it
I didn't fry up in the fires.
Yeah. Thank you so very much. The remarkable thing is that I haven't seen any of the doctors. Now it's the time for the presentation of the Chancellors Award for Research, which recognize excellence in research, scholarship, or creative expression, and are given for works presented or published in the preceding 3 calendar years. I would note that these awards were created a number of years ago at the urging of the Faculty Senate, and I think they are a wonderful addition to our celebration. Each of these awards carries a stipend of $1,000 and an engraved pewter julep cup. Cynthia, will you please join me to present these awards? 5 of these awards will be bestowed upon distinguished members of our faculty, with the first award going to Yanqin Fan, Professor of Economics, for her article in the Journal of Econometrics. Are you getting the picture too? Congratulations. Now you have to stay up here while I say some things about you. Yanqin is a brilliant scholar and is considered to be one of the best econometricians worldwide. Her work focuses on developing new statistical methods to analyze economic models that resolve challenging issues arising from the analysis of economic data. Published in the highest-ranking journal in this field, the Journal of Econometrics, Yanqin's article centers on a novel approach based on copulas. By leaving the marginal distribution unspecified, she discovered the new estimator of the dependence parameter that can be robust to features of this marginal distribution. The current financial crisis highlighted some of the problems in evaluating measures of financial risk, which may be poorly approximated by more simple models. Yanqin's work is of immense practical importance and has made significant contributions already in developing methods that are useful in social programs, medical science, evaluating clinical trials, integrated risk management, and finance. Her article in the Journal of Econometrics garnered the prestigious Arnold Zellner Award, presented in recognition of the best theoretical paper published in the journal over a 2-year period. She has contributed greatly to the Department of Economics, to the Vanderbilt community, significantly leading in her research, her teaching, and her service to that department. I am honored to present her with this Chancellor's Award for Research. Congratulations, Yanqin.
Thank you very much.
Did you get your check? The next Chancellor's Research Award goes to Irina Kaverina, an assistant professor in the Department of Cell and Developmental Biology. Hailed by colleagues both nationally and internationally as a true prodigy in cytoskeletal cell biology, Irina set out to investigate how the intrinsic asymmetry in the microtubule system is established to support cell polarity, and in so doing created an outstanding study that was published in the journal Developmental Cell. Recognized immediately for its wide-ranging implications at a fundamental level of cell biology, Irina is credited by her peers as rewriting the textbook and shifting the paradigm for years to come. Perhaps most importantly, her work provides a tremendous springboard for further insight into those basic mechanisms of cell movements, a true mystery, and is essential for understanding cancer cell metastasis and invasion and tissue regeneration. Although she's only been a part of the Vanderbilt faculty for 4 years, Irina has established a first-rate independent research program, and she has demonstrated an incredibly high level of collegiality in bringing together a wide spectrum of faculty from across the entire campus. It is with a great sense of pride that I present Irina with a Chancellor's Award for Research and offer her my and our heartiest congratulations. Next, I am most pleased to present a Chancellor's Research Award to Jim Patton, professor in the Department of Biological Sciences, for his innovative work in microRNAs. Jim, come on up here. Jim's colleagues unanimously agree that he has established himself with an eminent international standing in distinct areas in the overall field of RNA biology. In an article published in Nature Genetics, he showed for the first time that microRNAs play a role in cell specification and differentiation. Using zebrafish as a model system, he demonstrated that these microRNAs play a vital role in cell fate determination. In a paper published last year in the prestigious Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, Jim showed that microRNAs regulate regeneration in vertebrates, or how can a limb be regrown after it's lost. Through his work, Jim tries to understand why regenerations in humans is largely restricted, whereas other vertebrates are quite capable of extensive regeneration. In yet a third paper, which was published in the journal Endocrinology using a mouse model, Jim reported the first use of RNA interference to cure a dominant negative disease. This work provided the proof of a principle that treatment with RNA interference could rescue a disease and will have an extremely important impact on the future use of RNA interference to combat diseases. Collectively, these three papers demonstrate a profound and imaginative synthesis of basic research and clinical application. Jim, please accept this award with my deepest congratulations. The next award I am pleased to present to Gordon Logan, Jeffrey Shaw, and Tom Palmieri for their collaborative work presented in Psychological Review. Would you please come forward? Actually, Gordon, this cup is for you, but it's because the check is made out to you. Congratulations. Okay, Tom, this is for you. Thank you. Congratulations. And Jeff, great work. Congratulations. Each of these investigators is a world-class expert in their particular domain of research. Gordon Logan is hailed as the world's leading expert on behavioral models of response inhibition and is chiefly responsible for developing and characterizing the stop signal paradigm that is now the standard approach for studying motor inhibition. Jeff Shaw is one of the world's leading experts in the neural processes in perception and decision-making, and his path-breaking work uniquely impacts neuroscience and psychology. He is already the recipient of the highly coveted and prestigious Trollin Research Award from the National Academy of Sciences. Tom Palmieri is described as the brilliant and strong glue that binds this collaboration together. An expert in mathematical modeling of behavior, he is very well known for his path-breaking work integrating models of learning and categorization into a common framework, and is recognized as one of the very top quantitative modelers in the field. Together, these three remarkable faculty members are a dream team when it comes to the combination of experimental and computational study of response inhibition. Their combined collaboration is considered to be one of the highest quality theoretical and empirical works because it integrates highly cognitive modeling carried out by Gordon and Tom with the state-of-the-art neurophysiological recording work by Jeff. In this great paper, the authors combine computational, neurophysiological, and behavioral approaches to provide a much more complete picture of a phenomenon that would be provided by one or two of these approaches. This work combines the unique skill sets of three outstanding, well-known scientists to produce a wonderfully emergent theory and has enormous potential for clinical application, notably in the diagnosis, treatment, and rehabilitation of patients with frontal brain injury, as well as in a range of neuropsychiatric disorders. For extraordinary example of the benefits of interdisciplinary collaborative research, I am very, very proud to confer these Chancellors Awards on Gordon, Jeff, and Tom. Congratulations. Okay, go. Immediately. Things are tight. Congratulations, Gordon. Great work. Great work. Eric Scarr is the next recipient of the Chancellor's Award for Research Excellence. Eric, will you please come forward? His nomination was based on the paper Metachelation and Inhibition of Bacterial Growth in Tissue Abscesses, published in the journal Science. Eric's findings support the idea that metachelation may be an effective therapy against methicillin-resistant Staph aureus infections. Until Eric's groundbreaking paper was published, iron has dominated this molecular arms race for nutrient metal. Through his work, Eric met the challenge of unraveling the fundamental mechanism of disease caused by Staph aureus that results in a staph infection. This poses one of the most critical infectious threats to global public health. In his quest to identify novel host and bacterial factors which can be targeted for therapeutic intervention against staph infection, Eric has applied very innovative approaches representing diverse disciplines and a range of technologies. His innovative and collaborative work resulted in the development of imaging approaches that hold the potential to revolutionize the way scientists study the host-pathogen interface. Eric's accomplishments speak volumes about his outstanding scholarly activities, intellectual leadership. We are so lucky that you are here. Let me offer you my congratulations. It is now time to present the Thomas Jefferson Award. This is an award made annually for distinguished service to Vanderbilt through extraordinary contributions as a member of the faculty in the councils and in the governance of the university. It carries with it an engraved pewter goblet and a $2,500 prize. For his strong commitment to the life, the progress of this great university, it is my distinct honor to present the Jefferson Award to David Weintraub. David? Great work, David. Congratulations. Really. During his 18 years at Vanderbilt, David has actively participated in an extraordinary range of governance activities. As one of his colleagues noted, David gets things done. Thus, when it comes to naming individuals to carefully analyze a complex situation and propose and implement solutions, David's name is at the top of everyone's list. He has twice served as a member of the Faculty Council for the College of Arts and Science, 2 terms as secretary, and then as chair of that important council. With his persistent, patient, determined sense of focus, David, a true educator, can be directly credited for shepherding to a successful completion many important initiatives which have served to better this university. One example is the curriculum revisions work group's new curriculum plan that led to Axel, the predecessor to CPLE, which was in place, I think, for over 20 years. But you know what they say about curriculum reform? Easier to move a graveyard. Curriculum reform is one of David's most passionate causes, and he first learned on the ad hoc committee on the breadth of learning, which was charged with recommending a set of liberal arts requirements for the Vanderbilt students. When these recommendations were folded into a larger package, they actually did not receive college-wide support. Rather than going back to study the universe, undaunted, when Richard McCarty came on board as the dean, David engaged in discussions with Richard explaining why did this process not reach a successful completion. Richard then said, "You're right, I'm going to appoint you to an ad hoc curriculum revision work group," which David eagerly embraced while also working on his new book. A new curriculum was recommended, and it was overwhelmingly approved by the faculty. David has served in numerous critical roles of actual features and release plan team, the steering committee, and he's currently on, importantly, the implementation and study committee. As stated by one of his colleagues, curriculum reform would not have happened without David Weintraub. Let me add, I would be remiss if I did not mention David's long-standing and inspirational leadership and involvement, Matt Ramsey too, with Vanderbilt's Residential Colleges Initiative. He served as a vital and instrumental role over 10 years ago, the very beginning, in making invaluable contributions to the creation, the envisioning, and the building of the Commons. We are grateful to David for so many things, and we are honored to give him the Thomas Jefferson Award. David, please accept my congratulations. The final award to be presented is the Earl Sutherland Prize for Achievement in Research. This important prize is awarded annually to a member of the Vanderbilt faculty whose achievements in research, scholarship, or creative expression have had significant critical reception and are recognized nationally and internationally. The list of prior recipients is like a who's who of great faculty at Vanderbilt. The prize consists of $5,000 and an engraved pewter julep cup. The winner's name is added to a silver bowl, and the recipient keeps the bowl for 1 year. This year, it is my great privilege to award this prestigious Sutherland Prize to Harold L. Moses. Hal, Director Emeritus of the Vanderbilt Ingram Comprehensive Cancer Center. Come on, Hal. Christmas card. Stay here. We all know him as Hal, and I say when the movie is made of his life, Jimmy Stewart will come back and play this great physician, scientist, mentor. He is one of our most prominent and distinguished scholars. He has made a number of key scientific discoveries that furthered overall the understanding of cancer and cell regulation. He stands nationally and internationally as one of the true giants in cancer research and discovery. He was named the director of the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center in 1993, and he held that position for 12 years, during which time he led the center to become one of the premier cancer centers worldwide. He increased the level of grant support more than sixfold to more than $50 million a year, placing the VICC among the very top centers in the country based on NCI funding. Under Hal's leadership, Vanderbilt Ingram was awarded its first Cancer Center Support Grant in 1995, only 2 years after it moved out of that tiny little room. At that time, it was the youngest cancer center to achieve designation by the National Cancer Institute. In 2001, thanks to his hard work, his incredible vision, the trust and respect that his colleagues hold him in, Vanderbilt Ingram became Tennessee's only comprehensive cancer center. Hal has served as the president of the American Association for Cancer Research, the Association of American Cancer Institutes. He's a member of the Institute of Medicine of the National Academies. He's also made fundamentally important contributions by examining and addressing the disproportionate cancer burden faced by African Americans and other minority groups. His dedicated passion, his belief in studying these fundamental questions, they were all instrumental in the establishment of the Meharry-Vanderbilt Alliance, an innovative partnership between Vanderbilt and Meharry Medical College. This partnership has facilitated the training, the mentorship of almost 20 African American PhD students during the first 5 years of the Alliance, with an additional 20 students currently part of that partnership. Hal has demonstrated a lifetime of dedication, commitment, and I will say modesty to the great efforts, the progress against cancer in his own scientific pursuits, as well as through his many leadership positions, and importantly, his mentoring roles. His legacy, his imprint on this great university, on our cancer center, are beautifully illustrated by the fact that several of today's leading members of Vanderbilt's faculty are alumni of Hal Moses' lab, and I think even some came as undergraduates. In recognition of this extraordinary contribution, Hal Moses has been honored with many awards. Today, however, it is my distinct honor to add to that incredible collection, Hal, the richly deserved Earl Sutherland Prize for Achievement in Research. Please accept the university's thanks and congratulations. Thank you, Hal. Thank you. Incredible. Well deserved. It is now my privilege to advise you on the state of the university. As Cynthia mentioned, just as our Constitution calls for a State of the Union, I am required to advise you on the state of the university. I don't expect any planned standing ovations like they have in the real one, and I hope I don't get any of those kind of ironic ones where the one side sits up to kind of stands up to say, we got you. Let me say I use the word advise deliberately, intentionally. It conveys, I hope to you, the sense of place and certainly the sense of responsibility I feel in following the faculty who have served this university for decades. Those who have won these prestigious awards, their accomplishment, their service, put what I have to say at the start of my third year as Chancellor and 23rd year as a member of the faculty into perspective. My main obligation as Chancellor must be to support the work of the faculty. The unyielding principles of freedom of inquiry intellectual excellence, and robustness are the very scaffolding on which we do our work. This word oblige also advises me to share with you, my friends and colleagues, my thoughts as we consider the state of Vanderbilt, this university, whose riches we share and whose future we will shape together. This summer brought the death of Alexander Hurd, the 5th Chancellor of Vanderbilt. Alexander Hurd spoke powerfully and eloquently about the nature of the American university. He claimed for it, for us, a significant role in reinforcing and developing the qualities essential for a democratic, a self-governing society. And he understood, he was passionate about the ways in which the university opens the doors through which a society moves with justice, fairness, good information, and a far better sense of direction. And certainly more confidence as we face inevitable change. Chancellor Hurd said that what we do here, quote, our common mission of sustaining and advancing a significant university is the most important secular task of the 20th century. I'm sure if he were with us today, he would say to us, join in saying, it remains the most important in the 21st century as well. It is a sobering thought as we begin our new year, but it's also an uplifting and indeed an enlightened and hopeful one as we contemplate and take stock of our resources and we look ahead to this academic year. I want to begin by advising you that all of the key indicators of the health of the university are very strong. Sadly, this is not the case at all of the great American universities. You know most of these indicators very, very well. I certainly know them as well as the symptoms of my own health. I don't want to belabor them. However, because of the past year, we were also concerned about the economic collapse that was occurring. Still uncertain, how would they affect Vanderbilt? Let me run through a short checklist of some of what I see as reassuring indicators. I am very proud of how we are faring. I want to thank you for your devotion to your mission, your willingness to sacrifice to support this great university, and to assure that everyone in this community is valued. First, the most important indicator of the strength of a university, our university, any college, any university, its ability to draw the best faculty and the very best students. Across the entire university, in every one of our 10 outstanding schools, we find that the best students want to join our academic community. Whether looking at our medical school, the large growth in applications in our PhD programs, we are seeing incredibly strong demand for the Vanderbilt experience. Last weekend, we moved our 1,550 freshmen in the Commons. We received over 19,000 applications from all over the nation and the world, a jump of 16% over last year, which was on top of a 30% increase the year before. The freshmen who began classes this past week arrived in Nashville with the highest SAT scores, the highest number of AP, the highest number of IB graduates, the highest number of honors courses of any previous entering class. These are the students that we are proud to teach. All of these statistics reflect a growing awareness of the superior quality of Vanderbilt's faculty, the programs you have built, and the collaborative intellectual community. You must take credit for this. We received almost 6,400 applications for our graduate programs. That's an 8% increase and double where it was 8 years ago. We are drawing much stronger graduate students. We have a lot of work to do still, but we admitted only 14% compared to almost 36% 8 years ago. And our yield again went up. It is now over 50% for our PhD students. This is clearly a testament to the ever-increasing strength, distinction, productivity, and impact of the faculty and the creative, innovative programs you have adopted. A second good indicator of our health is that despite sharing in the economic traumas of last year, Vanderbilt did not suffer the same injury as many of our peer institutions. Today, we read about not just large layoffs, but the unthinkable pay cuts, layoffs, and furloughs for faculty in some of the greatest universities that America has ever created. While other schools were forced into radical actions to balance their budgets and build up cash, Vanderbilt's various departments, your leadership, you look for prudent ways to tighten belts, always seeking to protect the university and tending to those in our community most in need. In the end, through prudent savings, job sharing, foregoing raises, other sacrifices, our community has come through this storm fairly intact. Most importantly, we continue to recruit great new faculty, adding 40 new professors on the university side and over 200 new faculty in the schools of nursing and medicine. In other words, Vanderbilt strengthened its intellectual community as other universities shrunk. We created jobs when other universities had to eliminate them. We did this at the same time that we assured our students, yes, they would graduate from Vanderbilt without any debt. All of you, all of the staff deserve credit for the willing and cooperative spirit with which you weathered the difficulties of this past year. You have made this university far stronger, resilient, and ready, come what may. A third indicator of our excellent health has to do with our endowment and our Shape the Future fundraising campaign. Unlike some universities, Vanderbilt's cupboard is not bare. You have read and heard about endowments of universities plunging up to 30%. State and private universities have suffered enormous investment losses, even with the return of markets. Some fear they will face damage that will take years, if not decades, to repair. We fared better. Last year's endowment declined 16%, a number I still sometimes cannot believe. I also can't believe that I'm modifying with the adverb only. But only 16% has become a chant I repeat to calm myself, whether I'm looking at the Vanderbilt endowment or my Kref stock fund. This comparatively modest decline is testimony to the careful work of Vanderbilt boards, administrators, chancellors far before I got here, and also for the quiet deliberation and expertise of Vanderbilt's current investment team, led by Vice Chancellor Matthew Wright. I advise you also that you should remember and be encouraged that we are not as endowment dependent as our peer schools. Some of our private competitors are challenged as we speak to take out of their academic budgets, not their overhead budgets, their academic budgets, hundreds of millions of dollars in a short period of time. Others had had to borrow money to pay their endowment draw, lacking sufficient liquidity. Matt and others had prudently set aside money for endowment payout. Importantly, unlike other universities, Vanderbilt benefits from your hard work, from multiple revenue streams, including the endowment, government grants, contracts, alumni, and other private giving. Yes, tuition and fees, the strength of our medical center, and, thank David Williams, I know is here, an increasing share of SEC funds under our new ESPN contract. I encourage you to watch all of the ESPN games. I believe David has tripled the revenue coming out of our TV contract. All of these sources are replenishing our stores. Yes, we did decide last year to postpone all major capital projects except for some of those that were well underway. The critical care tower, our important, innovative new center at 100 Oaks, and yes, the absolutely essential parking garage across from Blair. These decisions were difficult, but they were necessary because we were unified in our decision to stop spending money that we couldn't be sure would be there in 1, 3, 5 years. We are now able to think, because of that, how and when to begin building for our future. Our donors have indicated enormous confidence in us, despite an economic climate that is the worst for philanthropy. Last year, we received $161 million in cash donations, representing gifts from nearly 50,000 donors, an extraordinary show of support from alumni, parents, grateful patients, community friends, faculty and staff, and foundations. It was our highest total in the past 5 years. Our Shape the Future campaign is at $1.6 billion toward our $1.7 billion goal, and it looks very likely we will not only meet, but we will exceed that goal well ahead of our deadline. I cannot bring this good news to you without stopping to acknowledge the absolutely remarkable leadership and generosity of Martha Rivers Ingram, the chairman of the Vanderbilt Board of Trust. I also have to recognize two of our trustees, Rhodes Hart, the class of '54, Orrin Ingram, the class of '82, who are now leading our fundraising efforts in these times of challenge, and who took over after the sad loss of our benefactor and leader, Monroe Carroll. Despite this economic downturn, our board leadership even hints that as we move past our $1.75 billion goal, we maybe should move this goal up to $2 billion. I told them I didn't know if I was ready for that. Our research funding remains strong. There are early indications that despite the intense and I would say confusing competition, Vanderbilt is faring quite well for the federal stimulus funding. Our outstanding faculty and innovative programs continue to garner support. I want to specifically acknowledge Dean Carolyn Dever, Professor Bob Dittis, and Associate Vice Chancellor Jen Howe that led to very generous support from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation for an expanded partnership with Meharry on the important relationship between health disparities and race, social issues, and economic factors. I also want to acknowledge Kayvon Stassen from Astronomy and Physics and his team. They continue to draw national recognition and support, and they have just won $3.7 million in federal grants with Fisk University to support and expand their innovative and successful bridge program with Fisk, devoted to diversifying the science faculty of the future. And Liz Dykins, our new leader of the Kennedy Center, led a successful renewal of that important center grant. I've already mentioned that we hired over 200 new faculty and hundreds of staff in the university and our great medical center last year. Each appointment is important, but it's also, I hope, a sign of stable and improving conditions here at Vanderbilt. It brings me to a fourth and final indicator of good health that I want to draw to your attention. Last April at the Spring Faculty Assembly, we discussed that there were a number of open administrative positions. I don't like them as much as I don't like them any more than anyone else, because that means I have to work that much harder. I hope that the outstanding appointments that have occurred since that time have encouraged our faculty, have been taken note of by you. Last spring, Richard McCarty had already become our provost. Carolyn Dever had already become the Dean of Arts and Science, and Beth Fortune, our new Vice Chancellor for Public Affairs. It was enormously helpful to have the steady hands of Richard, the experience of Carolyn and Beth on the team when conditions deteriorated severely last fall. Since last April, we have seen two other outstanding faculty members move into key administrative positions. Jeffrey Balzer, Dean of the School of Medicine, became our Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs this past June. The board and I have tremendous confidence in this physician scientist. He's already building a strong team. He's already building a very bold vision for science and medicine at Vanderbilt. And as importantly, he is reaching across the university with his team to link all of the departments in this critical part of our mission. My law colleague, Chris Guthrie, was named the Dean of the Law School in July. I am so grateful that Jeffrey and Chris have given me their counsel, and that they're also willing to bring their faculty accomplishments, the values of the faculty, to these key leadership positions. In addition, after national searches, we have welcomed two new administrators to Vanderbilt, both with incredibly impressive credentials and eager to be part of the Vanderbilt community. Both were chosen by committees made up of Vanderbilt faculty, senators. I want to thank Michael McClendon for his service, and others, staff, and board members served. In January of this year, Susie Stallcup left Columbia University Medical School, where she was the Vice President for Development, become our new Vice Chancellor for Alumni and Development and Alumni Relations. Just this month, Brett Sweet began working as Vice Chancellor for Finance and Chief Financial Officer of Vanderbilt, after time spent as Dean of Administration and Finance of Harvard University's Faculty of Arts and Sciences. He was also, before that, Executive Vice President of Finance and Administration and Chief Financial Officer of Baylor College of Medicine. He's a graduate of the Harvard Business School and the Naval Academy, spent a number of years as an officer on the submarine. I don't know how he did all that. He looks like he's 18. I want you to know that I am inspired by and greatly assured by these great appointments. I hope you get to know them, and I hope you share my great confidence in their outstanding potential and are more optimistic about our future as a result. I want to close by advising you, a college president would either have to be Rip Van Winkle, and maybe still asleep, or a thrill-seeking risk-taker to not learn some lessons and discuss and advise the faculty some of the lessons from this financial crisis. One of the most important is that large leverage poses large risks. Not only, however, to the person who signs the IOU. No part of the university can borrow excessively on the belief that it will make money down the road without putting the entire university in jeopardy. In every decision we make, every decision we stand together, we must always ask, are we serving Vanderbilt as a whole? Think of the dedication of the faculty here, the remarkable achievements of the faculty that add distinction and luster to this great institution. We must recognize each part of this community, the collaborative research undertaken by Eric and others, strengthens and supports everything. We are one university, financially and intellectually, not just rhetorically. That is where our strengths and competitive advantages are found, and that is where our opportunities lie in the future in meeting our mission. Second lesson I learned is that we should take some heart from these promising conditions I advised you about today, and we should feel confident that Vanderbilt is, as I say, dumb luck, is pulling through this crisis. But we also have to be cautious about the recovery. We will begin to build again. We are continuing to hire more faculty, to start up new and exciting programs. We're going to invest much more in graduate education, but we will do so with a prudent look at our resources, a testing of ideas, with far less borrowing, and a very strong focus on what is our mission, what are our values, and what difference can Vanderbilt make in the world. We'll strive to make certain that the money we spend, the money we borrow, the research projects we undertake, the buildings we build, the goals we set, that we, Vanderbilt, can claim at this time that they are distinctive and they are noble goals. When I was reading through Alex Hurd's speeches last summer as I prepared to speak at his memorial service, I came across something he said which is true today as it was in his day. He cautioned us that you must be on guard to remember that you raise money in order to run the university. You don't run the university to make money. Finally, I have learned in this time of distress, Vanderbilt's ability to somehow weather these challenges, for all of us to come together virtually overnight. As I said, through your sacrifice, I believe in good old common sense, and as I said, some good luck. This all brings rare opportunities, but I hope you feel with me that it also carries with it a greater sense of what is our responsibility. As we consider perhaps our current good fortune, we will be able to invest in key areas, particularly in hiring faculty, building up our graduate programs, which will receive substantial investments, creating new and innovative programs. But we must realize that our devotion to discovery, to teaching, to educating, to research must truly make a difference for humanity. We can't shrink from this obligation to address with even greater urgency the challenges that are facing all of us at this time. As Larry said, who can even listen to what is called the debate on health care? Our obligations are greater than ever. We must create solutions to our nation's health crisis. We must create creative, innovative, path-breaking solutions to our energy challenges, to work even harder to keep avenues of communication open between the inevitable political adversaries and who they always see as their cultural strangers. We must commit ourselves to, yes, what hell represents. Breakthroughs in science, creating new medical treatments and remedies for disease, to discover, to support, and yes, inspire new generations of poets, musicians, artists, and dancers. The final important lesson I've learned, and this will be a source of great disagreement, is that I've tried to make this speech shorter. So I close by now. Let me just say thank you. Thank you for goodwill. Thank you for your friendly emails. They do matter, and sometimes they give me a boost. Thank you for your desire to help the university through the difficulties of the past year. I truly believe, looking at other universities, that that is what made the difference. That is what made the difference between failure and success, between pausing and stopping, between despair and we can discover. I am so grateful to be here with you, working together, yes, as Alec Hurd said, the most important secular task of our century. We seek to sustain and advance, as he said, this significant university called Vanderbilt. Thank you. Let's have a great year, and please join me in the Board of Trust room for a reception.